welcome to Motorsport and Performance. I'm Teddy, and it is 9:20, so it's a little bit of a different video for you. We're here with Graham Taylor from GTPhot. You have definitely seen his work on our socials, on our website. It's plastered everywhere. The work he does is amazing. We are here filming a Steve McQueen edition Bullitt, so I'm just going to introduce you to Graham, and he's going to inform you of the crazy stuff he is doing. Come with me.
Hi, my name's Graham. I'm the photographer that Ben gets in to shoot some of Matt's more high-end and complete builds. I've been a full-time photographer for about 15 years, and for 12 of that I've worked with cars. And the way in which I've shot cars over that 12 years has sort of evolved from more conventional location work to commercial studio work for advertising campaigns, and eventually to the services that I provide for Matt now, which is a kind of combination of both. The Steve McQueen car is actually the second Bullitt car that we shot together. As a massive Steve McQueen geek, I love shooting stuff like this. The way we do it is we shoot it in the workshop, and then we use lighting to composite into another environment. Typically I would have shot the environment first, so that we call these backplates, and these are always shot on location. And the beauty of being able to do that is I don't need permissions to shoot the road, and I don't need to close it either. I can then shoot it at whatever angle I like, in whatever lighting I need to shoot it in. And then when I go and shoot the real car, I can mock it up in Photoshop, so I know exactly where the lighting needs to come from, and what focal length I need to use, and what height I need to shoot at to make the car match the backplate perfectly. And the C8 was actually a really great example of kind of an ideal scenario of everything happening in the right order. And as a whole workflow process, it was so straightforward start to finish. The Steve McQueen car is a little bit more complicated. The owner is obviously a Bullitt fan like myself, so wanted a San Francisco themed set. The issue with that is, without having any San Francisco backplates that I've shot myself, I'm relying on online assets that I can download, either stock imagery or other backplates. And the difficulty with that is they are probably not the angle that I was preferred to shot from, because they're not shot with the car in mind, and they're shot, I'm tied with the lighting that's in the scene. So even if I swap out the sky, you know, you can still tell from the light on the buildings which direction the light is coming from, and that will then affect how I shoot the car and how I light the car. So the shoot itself, I use a guy called Simi, who's an old friend of mine. Simi's a car photographer in his own right. He has magazine publications to his name, and his knowledge of lighting makes my job a lot easier. We can have a brief chat and go over the kind of initial plan for the images first, and then when we come to shoot it, Simi knows exactly where I want the light put in, and he can do it in a way that eliminates the reflections, and I don't need to keep chasing it. Generally what we'll do is we'll work around the whole car. If I have a backplate already, then we tend to light specifically for what the backplate needs, but we'll also do a few extra frames so that further down the line, if in a year's time Ben needs some extra assets making out of the set, I can retouch something completely different from the same raw file. Alright, so I'm just going to very quickly run through the kind of retouching process and what it is exactly I do. So first things first, I take one of the raw frames and open it up, and then what I'll do then is make it a lot brighter. Now what this allows me to do is essentially zoom in to cut little bits of it out. So there's certain things I know I'm going to need to remove, like I know I'm going to need to remove the gaffer and the glass. I know I'm also going to need to cut out the mirror glass. I'm going to need to cut out the whole car. So it's kind of dead easy. Just involves putting these little anchor points all the way around, and be as kind of accurate as you can. And then essentially, as if by magic, once you've done that, you end up with this, which is essentially an outline of everything that I've cut out. So you can see there wheels, tyres, bottom end. I know I'm going to change the number plate to put a matte plate on there. The badge is kind of a highlight point, so now I'm going to take special attention over that. Same with the back window and the whole car. And then what that allows me to do is put it down as an overlay over my original image. And then when I start dropping raw files in, I can line them up to this, so I know that they're 100% accurate. So then I go across to Bridge, which is my other software that I use. And in here I've got all my raw files all connected together, so you can see this is a very quick snapshot of what myself and Simi do on set. The way we light the car, you can see certain angles of light eliminate the reflections completely, and certain angles show the reflections completely. So this is about, you know, knowing your craft really, and knowing what it is you need for the frames that you're going to put together in the end. So work our way all the way around the car. Again, normally we'd do this specifically for the backplate, but because we're not sure of the backplate until afterwards, I'm trying to give myself as many lighting options as possible, and then a rear light frames for afterwards. So my next stage after this is to build myself a backplate, and this is what I ended up with. So although the theme for this set is San Francisco, I've kind of built a somewhat generic American kind of wet road, a bit Need for Speed, I guess, in the kind of look that I'm going for. And then again, what I'm looking for here is where my light's coming from. So I know that's my main light source there. So I've got these bits here, these here, and the way this floor's lit, I can get away with putting some light in here as well. So when I'm scrolling through my raw frames, my intention is to pick out frames that essentially light the car from this direction. So again, back to Bridge. As I'm looking through, yeah, that's lit from the front. It's also at the side, so that one will work really nicely. Again, that one will work really nicely as well. So all these, and this kind of directional light's going to work for the back as well. So I'll put all my layers together, erase the bits of the layers that I don't need, and once I've done that, this is roughly what my lighting's looking like. So again, if I use my lighting direction, you can see that I'm using this light here to come down, replicating the big light I've got on the back plate, and you can kind of insinuate that there's a light source here which is lighting that, and it's still fairly realistic. You can also, from the back plate, realistically there could be a light source over here as well, just to put some detail in that back end there. So as you can see now, although it's well lit, there's quite a lot of things to clean up in this. So these are actually light sources that are effectively on set. So these are what we call specular reflections that you can't really get rid of. So it's going to be my job then in post to clean these up, and the way that I do that is essentially these are tools that are within Photoshop, such as clone and patch. And just go through, and I'm going to do that across the whole car. Now it's not as easy as it looks. A lot of these sort of bigger ones, you see that it creates this kind of weird artifact where that's got grain to it and this bit hasn't. So it's either trial and error with the tools that are in there, or I'll also generally go in and brush from scratch and create my own textures on there. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I know I'm going to change this plate here from Motorsport Performance plate. So again, I'm going to brush this manually and then use the map logo to go in there. And once I've done that, it's going to look a bit like that. So you can see it's much cleaner. Got rid of these reflections here. Plate's changed. The whole car looks much better. Same with the wheels. The only thing that is drawing my eye at the moment is the fact that because of the way the light falls off, some of this colour is blue, some of it is cyan, it's not green like it should be, so I'm just going to put colour adjustment layer on there and make it look green like it should be. And once we've done that, using the path that I cut earlier, I'm going to drop the car onto my back plate, and then using one of the shadows from the raw frames, I'm going to drop that in there. And once we've done that, you can then start looking at adding other things in. So for this one, the reason I built this back plate to be so long is because my intention is to put a reflection roughly around here. Make that a bit more obvious. So my intention is to use this space here to put a reflection in, and to also put some lighting effects on there. I'm going to enhance these lights at some point, and I'm going to use this to create some lighting effects here. So the way I do this is I use stock imagery, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this puddle here, probably not going to use all of them, and I'm going to flip the car and put it in there as well. So once I've done that, it's going to look a little bit like that, and I can now start treating this as one image. And this is essentially a digital darkroom edit. And then from there I can enhance the lighting effects, as I spoke about before, color grade it and finish the shot off. And that's it. So that's the whole process from start to finish. You can see we ended up with the base frame, and that's what we're looking at as a finished product. Again, if you've been to Ben's workshop, you'll see the kind of 2.5 metre square prints that are on the outside of the building. It's kind of vital to make sure everything is accurate if something's going to be printed that size, especially when your potential viewer might not be at the right viewing distance. They might be a lot closer than you would want them to be. Generally, when handing over a set of images, I don't like to just hand over a digital set. I think the images stand out much more in print, and they're a lot more striking, and it kind of does them justice. You know, when you're editing these images, to eventually shrink them down to something that's going to be viewed on a screen that big, it doesn't really do them justice. So to have them on a big print in a frame or a poster or something like that, for me is the best way really to showcase these images. Just want to say a big thanks to Havo for allowing this insight really into the process that me and Simi do, and you know, a big thank you to Ben as well for consistently booking us for these shoots.